Hey y'all, Pearl Foy again, A to Z haircutting. Today what we're going to do, we're going to review a little bit of what we did yesterday, or the last haircut. And you can see that this is a V and this is a V. That one has like a whole lot more hair than this one does. That one is a little bit less manageable, a little bit more damaged, but I want you to see all the different layers we got. And I'll turn it to the side. See, this was all one length. We brought everything over, so all of this, once we brought it straight up, was cut. This one was done side to side. What I wanted you to notice about that front, let me turn this around very carefully so we don't knock anything over. Remember I said side to side. On the side to side, on top, take note of this. On top, she's horizontal to her perimeter line. If you're not familiar with these terms, because these are the terms we speak, these are the terms I'm going to be speaking to you to get exact places on the head form. I'm not going to say here or there. There is no here or there. There are specifics. Just like I've told you before, when a doctor does an appendectomy, he knows that your appendix is pretty much 4 inches to the right of your navel. You've got to know where you're at. So this is the perimeter line, or you can call it the hairline if you want. But the bigger thing here is that we took a subsection, brought it straight up, and you can see it's a straight line. We cut it. What this is, there's power in numbers. I want you to see this goes back. It's going to go back. And do you see how it lays flat on top, yet full on the sides? When we went to the sides, we went straight up and down. I'm going to diagram it for you in a minute. And please, take our videos. Our videos are only 30 minutes long. We don't spend a whole lot of time jibber jabber. We give you the information, you use it. But pause it. Once you get our videos, pause it. Look at it. Take note of it. Listen to it. Below the parietal line, we took vertical lines. And I told you, the vertical lines are what creates all that movement. Today, we're going to be taking horizontal lines, and you're going to see that. The variable is going to be on top, and I'm going to be explaining that in a minute. But I want you to see that I can scatter that, and it stays back. If you have problems, I'm giving you all the whys in hair cutting. If you have problems with your bangs falling down like mine do because of the way that I cut it. I do cut my own hair, by the way. And I definitely didn't take it side to side. I have a reason for taking it front to back. I'll cover that later. But anyways, you can see that this goes back because all of these hairs are the same length. Every hair right here is exactly the same length. As soon as we pull it up at the parietal line, there's just a scotch of a variable on every little one that we pull up. So there is no hard line, in other words. That's what those are called. So when you have a softer line, vertical line, you're going to get more movement. You're going to find on this one, the movement's going to be different. And again, diagrammed it. Everything's going to be going straight up. The lines are straight back. I'm going to diagram it there for you as well. And I made all these little notes. I don't need the notes. This is for you. This is so when I go teach in a class and students want to look at my notes to verify with what they're doing, it kind of helps them a little bit. And I showed you the notebook that I have. That's up to you. How much do you want to learn about hair cutting? How much do you want to understand it? Where do you want to be with the whys on what happens? Okay, so on this one, side to side, I'm just going to do face form. Give her ears. We always put the ears in. This is the front, of course. Parietal line. Okay, we went. Let me draw this out just like it is. There's the widow's peak. Okay, so we took that section there first. This line became the guide as we traveled back, going side to side, traveling back. Yes?
Your model's in the front.
Oh, my model's in the front. Sorry. Thank you, cameraman. Sorry. Okay, so let me say that again. So there's did that first section, and then it traveled back, and you can see that, but bottom line, everything came straight up. Now, I gave you a question yesterday. I said, where is the shortest point in this cut? Where would the very shortest point be? And the answer was the first statement that I made. I said, the apex. Do you see this, where this hair right here is longer than this one when we go straight across? You can take measurements if you want, but that would be the shortest point. So those are precautions that you need to take when somebody's saying, I want length. How far up are you going to take it? Because the center top, the apex, center apex, again, go to your introduction sheet, video. It tells you all the terms. We review them. I expect that you write them down and practice them and look at people and try and visualize where they're at. Because we can't determine out here what is in here. And in here is the biggest factor on hair cutting, especially when we get into the shorter cuts. Okay, so I need to get something to, hang on a minute, sorry guys. I'm going to take this off. And you got the front to back. Today we're doing front to back. We did the side to side. And I got this a little wet. And this is an easy cut. It's not a difficult cut, but if you know where you're at, it makes it a lot more accurate cut. Okay, so let's look at that again. Parietal line, 1, 2, put our ear in there. Okay, so we went side to side, right? And we traveled back as we did it. All of it was side to side, one side to the other. Didn't matter, you could, and like I said, you could part it down the center, do one side, and then do the other side. This hair right here became the guide for this section. This hair right here became the guide for this section. So the guide, or the line that you're following, traveled back. Today we're going to be doing, it's going to be pretty much the same cut. The only difference is, we're going to go front to back. Front to back is going to be, draw it again, and like I said, pause it if you need to, draw your diagram, talk about it, think about what you're doing. That's part of hair cutting. All right, there's your parietal line. This time we're going to part it down the center if you want, or just take it down the center. Your first subsection is going to be at the frontal fringe. It's only going to go up about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. It's going to travel up. This hair right here will be your guide for the next section, and that's going to travel up. This hair right here will be your guide for the next section. It's going to travel up. Now, we're going to do one thin line. In other words, let me put a head form here again. Parietal line. We're going to do one thin line all the way back. Then what you've got is you've got your guide for your front to back coming off of that center portion that you just cut, this one. So once you've taken it back to the vertex, center vertex, because it's like a center part, it's only like about, maximum 1/2 inch wide, all right? Then the hair right next to this, right here, will be the guide for this section that you take out and bring straight up. Front to back, hair right there will be the next guide. In other words, you're going to travel over. It's not different than going side to side. We're just going front to back on it. And I'm going to be showing you on this mannequin. Both of these mannequins had the V cut. This one, as you can see, it's V'd out right there. I have it sectioned out the same way. Once you get used to your sections, once you get used to where you're at, so where you're going, you probably won't have to section. I don't section anymore. Of course, I've been doing this for 52 years, so if I was going to section, she better have a whole lot of hair, because that's the only time I actually section out haircuts anymore. So I'm going to put this in front of you so you can see it. And you'll see that I'm just going to repeat in the cut what I've just told you. There is going to also be a difference. Take a center part. There's also going to be a difference on how we section below the parietal line. Remember, on the front, on the side to side, it was sectioned in this form. So all of this hair was horizontal to the perimeter line. And then we went vertically. This time we're going to go front to back, and everything is going to be now horizontal cut. The hair falls differently when you cut it in that form. I'm going to also detail the back for you so you can see it. So I'm going to turn this around. Actually, I'm going to stand behind it. We're learning as we're doing this and getting my elbow out of the way. I'm going to bring my shear up, and I'm going to subsection right at the center. And I'll be using the secondary position again on this one. You see, secondary position, primary, secondary, extended. You remember that. Remember that if you're not sure about it, go back on that first haircut, the zero elevation. We showed you how to hold your shear. We showed you how to practice to make sure, because this is what makes the cut, is the shear, not this, not the comb. And part of it is going to be in your brain. So you're responsible for that. So I'm taking a subsection here, right at the frontal fringe. I'm bringing it straight up. Okay, do you see that? Straight up. Can you see that all right, cameraman? So you see that I'm making sure that all those hairs are the same. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this guide right here, this shortest point, as my guide to travel back. Because remember, on the V-cut, what happened? Everything came forward. So it's going to get longer as we travel back. And this was the V-cut again. So again, secondary position, go across. Now remember what I said? That now becomes my guide. Does that make sense to you now? I drew it up for you, but are you beginning to see it? All right, I'm at the apex. There's my guide. Take that hair off. All right, that hair goes down. I'm up at the vertex, straight up. There's my guide. And everything is straight across. Now I'm going to move that over, and what I'm going to do is this hair is my guide. I'm not going to pull it all the way from the other side, and then I'll take another subsection. This is front to back. And I'm just traveling back with it. And I have an option here. I could either use this, or I could follow through and use that one. You have both options. It doesn't matter. I find that if I just take that one, I know they're all even. I know it's all the same. I just travel back the same way. The main thing is hold it straight up, not at an angle, no in any other direction. Straight up. Make sure that you look at your hair, that everything is perfectly straight up. And if you recall, when we turned that one upside down, if everything wasn't held straight up, that wouldn't have happened. And you remember what that was. I'm not going to say it because, yeah, we are going to be turning this one upside down again. The next haircuts that we're going to be doing, you saw the first cuts we did, everything was held close. Nothing was brought up. The next few haircuts, everything is going to be brought up. After we bring all the up haircuts, then we're going to bring the out haircuts. After the out haircuts, then we're going to show you how to do what's called a 90-degree or uniform layered haircut. It means everything is all the same, and I'm going to give you the whys and why nots on that when we get into that haircut. After that, we're going to start clipper cutting, but you've got to learn how to do scissor over comb before we do that. So there's a lot of training still coming up. I'm hoping that you're getting this. I'm hoping, truly hoping that you're diagramming. So see, I'm bringing that straight up using that last haircut. And again, my subsections are not like real wide because I want it to fit. I want it to rest nicely as I do it. And everything's got to be perfectly straight. Again, traveling up to, right now, where am I? I'm at the upper ridge. I'm no longer up towards the frontal. I'm a little bit on the frontal, but more into the upper ridge. So do you see where you need to know where you're at so then you know where you're going? Now I'm up into the parietal line here. And I know it looks like I'm pulling that over, but I'm not. There, I'm going to move that out of the way. There's my guide. Pick this last piece up. I've got this guide here. So your guide options become more on this cut. Pick this last one up. All right. So that one's done. I'm going to come over to the other side. You know what, I think I'm just going to stay there because I want you to see it, otherwise my arm will get in the way. I'm not too concerned about it because I know where I'm at so that I know where I'm going. And I'm going to take it up to the parietal line. No, that's not traveling over. Have my guide right there. All the way back to the vertex again. And see how it's getting longer. The length is getting longer because everything traveled forward on this cut, on the V cut, to create that V look. All right, so I'm at the upper ridge again. And I can see my guide. I'm not just cutting to cut. I have a guide that I can see, the line. I can see that haircut line that we did. All righty. Now, this is where it gets a little bit different from the other cut. The same but different. Remember, we're going horizontally now. We are no longer going vertically. Now, on the top, we're vertical. On the top, it's vertical to the perimeter line, isn't it? Whereas this was vertical to the perimeter line below the parietal line. Do you see why you need to learn those terms? I'm giving you exact spots to be. Okay, I need to let my cameraman know that I did not turn on my timer, so let me know. All right, so I'm going to drop now the flat part of the head. I'm going to move this over. Comb that down. I'm going to turn it around so you can see it. Okay, this is the flat part of the head. This is my guide. One small section there. That's it. That's my guide for the flat part of the head. I'm going to take a section, and now we're doing it horizontally. The one thing that you're going to notice, there's very little to be cut there because we brought everything forward and I may not have anything to be cut. Nope. Done with that. I'll have more to cut in the back. This is what I want you to notice with this cut. Cups under all by itself. I don't even have to tell it to go under. Cups under by itself because the Y on that is these hard lines. These hard lines cause it to cup under. So when somebody comes in and says, I want it choppy, I want a movement, vertical lines on the sides. If they say, well, I want to be able to curl it under and, you know, just kind of have it cut my face, horizontal lines below the parietal line. You make the decision on what you want to do on the top. All right, I'm bringing it over to the other side. You can see that this cut is easy. It doesn't take a long time. What's going to create your time and, you know, how much time you take on this is how much hair do they have. Again, I'm moving that over. I'm going to bring it up. And we're up again at the parietal line, aren't we? We're not up. We're not moving it out anywhere. There it is. I want to make sure that I got that. There you go. All right, bring this up. I don't think I'm going to have anything to cut. Very little. You see my elbow gets in the way, but I hope you can see that. But still, everything, it's not brought out. There's your parietal line. It goes straight up from there. Now, here's the trick. Now, when I do this cut, like I said, I don't even section because I know where I'm at. You'll eventually get to know where you're at on the head form because you'll be working this enough. You'll see it enough. Practice at this point. I love it. I tell people when you go to church, sit in the back row and look at everybody's haircut and try and determine how it was done. In taking these classes, you're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to see that perimeter line and where the hair rests on it. Did they bring it forward? Did they bring it back? How did they create that cut? Remember when we got started, I told you this is haircutting A to Z. This is every single cut you could possibly learn. If there's any cuts that you don't know, for goodness sake, comment, let me know, because I'll make sure that I get that information for you. The biggest thing about haircutting is when you do something that you don't understand, I give you the why on it. Why did that happen? Why did that not work for you? Okay, so I'm going to part it down the center. I'm going to turn this around again. I'm going to try and stand off to the side. Now, just at that area, see, we know where the parietal line is, right there, right? Just at this area here, remember how we traveled around on the 0? That's what you're going to do in the back on this cut. You traveled around vertically on the side to side. You're going to travel around horizontally on the front to back. Remember, front to back, and now we're doing it horizontally underneath. Those are the two variables in the haircut. Same cut, different method. Okay, so we're right here at the curve of the head, and see that? So I hope you can see me cut. All right, I'm going to travel back around the vertex, around that center crown, and again, you see the angle that I'm holding my hands in the shear. Travel around it, holding it horizontally. Do not do this. You don't want to do that. You've just created length on those two sides. So you want to bring it, got one little long one there. You want to bring it straight up on all of it. So I'm going to do this part here. I'll go ahead and finish that one side. Now I'm at the center, definitely center crown. All right, so I can pull that hair up too and get it out of the way if I want to. All right, so I'm going to take this again. Let me turn her around so you can see what I'm doing. Bring it straight up, that angle, and again I'm traveling around the head form in the exact same way that I did when we were cutting it at the bottom, traveling around the head form. Otherwise, you'll create corners or you'll create a slightly different variable on the cut. Okay, I'm running out of hair. I should have some hair at the center because this hair traveled, yeah I do, there it is. This hair traveled more than the other one. I'll still have a little bit of a V because we didn't take it that short. So I'm going to take off the other side. Again, horizontal at the parietal line. I'm not bringing it in, I'm not pulling it back. It's horizontal at the parietal line. And traveling around it. Like I said, pause this. Look at it. Take your notes. Diagram your cuts until you learn how to do them. And the reason that I don't necessarily go into extreme detail on my diagrams, I want to show you how to diagram, but I understand my instructions. I want you to understand your own instructions. That's why I say pause it. If you think there's something you missed, pause it and then write it down. And then look at your diagram. Watch the video again and then, kind of read it with your diagram. Did I get everything down? Did I write down what I needed to do? Did I draw lines where I needed to draw lines? Did I make notes where I needed to make notes on certain things? So I'm going to bring this up. Like I said, our videos are only 30 minutes. I know sometimes what I do, and again, traveling down to the nape, bringing it straight up. What I'll do is I will be blow drying this after we're done. I'll show it next time. The next video we have, 5 seconds or 5 minutes? Oh, okay, 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes, y'all. So anyways, now you see how that kind of traveled back a bit? I have to be careful with that because it's off the parietal line. I take it to the parietal line. The back of the head travels around, all right? So you're going to be tempted to do that. Don't. You want to bring it straight up. Know what straight up is. And I don't have much to cut here. This mannequin does not have the amount of hair that the other one did. And everything has been brought straight up. I'm finding a few little variables here that I'm just cleaning up as I do it, and some of that happens when you're teaching it, and especially being all cockeyed and everything. So I'm going back in and just kind of revamping and rechecking, make sure that we're all there. And you can do the same thing. You know, see that? That's straight, but do you see that little notch right there? Okay, so clean that up, come straight up. It'll show up when I hold it upside down. Yes, trust me on that. We can all think we're perfect, but even the best have room for error. Oh, nope, I want that straight up, right there. Yeah, see what happens when you move it, you start changing the cut. We don't want to change the cut. Okay, I definitely see a variable right there. Okay, so we have, 5 minutes is plenty of time to show you what I need to show you, but you can see, whether you can see all those little, watch this, just cups under. I can move it and it'll lay down. The other one, remember, I could move it and it would pop out. I can move it and it will lay down. So it's because a hard line, there's power in numbers. We have all those hairs cut the same way and coming straight down. Even though we know it's layered, it's still layered. And what's cool about this cut is you don't see any hard lines in this area. Now, if I took it straight out and cut it straight across and dropped it, you would definitely see a hard line there. But because we're bringing it straight up and the head is round, that roundness is what's keeping those lines, and of course a natural fall of the hair as well, keeping those lines from showing up so much. But look at that. I'm pulling it up and it just lays down. That's what's nice about it. Now, remember what I said about power in numbers? I'm going to try and comb that back. Come on, let's comb that back. This is power in numbers. It holds it back. This, along this perimeter line, we have all those straight lines going back. It's not going to go back. It's going to keep falling forward because the power in numbers says come down this way. That one will actually let it go back for you, but create movement on the sides. These are the exact same cuts, just in a different format to create a different look. Now I could be teaching someone and tell them cut it front to back, and then if the client wants something different, they don't want shorter hair, it creates nice volume and it makes it much better. So what I'm going to do something here. This hair is nice and wet. Are we flat? Do you see that? That's what I'm talking about. We held it straight up. We still get it nice and flat. That means we did it correctly. All right? It's done right. It's perfectly flat. That's a flat top for your future. You guys, thank you so much. Any questions, please comment. Please take notes. Please take care.